Ready? Start. Immediately after I assumed charge of the Ministry of Education in January this very year, I looked into the development projects which had been accepted in principle but not carried out in practice. Of these, one of the most outstanding was a scheme for a central college of training for teachers. The Central Advisory Board of Education had, in December this year, recommended the establishment of two training colleges, one for men and the other for women, each providing for an intake of 200 students for the service of the centrally administered areas and the smaller provinces and states. On the grounds of economy, the Government of India modified that recommendation and decided to establish one college for both men and women with a capacity of 300. Provision was accordingly made in the budget as per the recommendations of the committee for the establishment of the college. When I took office, I was therefore surprised to find that the whole program had been held up on the ground of shortage of building materials. I was aware of the difficulties in securing steel and cement and other equipment, and I could understand the delay in the implementation of the building program. I could not, however, understand why this led to a postponement of the entire scheme. Even if buildings were lacking, the institute could have been started in temporary structures or hired houses. But here, as in so many other cases, programs of educational development were held up on the ground of lack of accommodation. This undue stress upon buildings has always seemed to me to be an instance of confusing ends with means. Buildings are only a means of which the end is education, and yet it seemed to me that many of our educational planners were so engrossed with building projects that they could not think of carrying on educational work in their absence. I therefore decided forthwith that the institution must be started immediately with whatever accommodation was readily available. The period was an exceedingly difficult one, and all the attention of the government was concentrated first on the disturbances in the Punjab and later on the impending division of the country. Even then, a small house was secured in the Delhi University area in July this very year. I realized that this was not adequate for our needs now and the work of the institute in the future. It is hardly necessary for me to relate at length the importance of an institute of this kind. With literacy figures show low as only 15%. The paramount importance of expanding the facilities of education is obvious. The acceptance of democracy as the pattern of our state has, if anything, added to the urgency of the problem. It is also self-evident that the first step towards expanding the facilities of education is to provide for an increase in the number of trained teachers. Equally necessary is an institution to assess the results of educational methods followed till now and devise improvements demanded in the changing circumstances of today. It will be noticed that the institution, which was started in December this very year, was the Central Institute of Education and not the training college which had originally been planned in 1944 and 1945. This meant not merely a change in nomenclature but a considerable expansion in the purpose of functions of the institution. I felt that changes were necessary in two directions. First, it should not be merely a college for training teachers but also an institution for research in the fields of education. Secondly, its services should not be restricted to the centrally administered areas but should extend to the whole of India. The Central Institute will therefore both train teachers for higher and secondary schools and also carry on research on the problems of basic and secondary education. The stage at which a child should be introduced to a craft as distinct from activity, the relative emphasis on craft and academic subjects and their correlation, the production of a new type of a school literature to bring out the social functions of all human activity, the degree of abstraction possible in the earlier stages of education, the stage at which there may be some bifurcation between academic subjects and crafts. The grouping of children according to aptitude, taste, and ability, the place of art in the school curriculum, these are only a few of the many problems which arise out of a new conception of basic education and require constant and careful study in a research institution. There are also problems relating to adult education which demand fresh and careful scrutiny. It is a commonplace that the methods which are suitable for children cannot, without modification, be applied to adults. No doubt a good deal of work in this connection has been done in other countries of the world, but each country has its own peculiar problems arising out of its social and economic background and its political history. Now, stop.